Hey everyone, this is our weekly podcast where we go over hot topics in the NFL as well as fantasy. We are the Football Tailgaters. With me today, as always, we have here Yams, our Jets fan, Andy, our unbiased NFL fan, and myself, Aaron, a Cowboys fan. We got a multitude of topics here today to go over. We got some fantasy talk at the very end. A little bit of some offseason going on. Talk about the supplemental NFL draft coming back. We got a little bit of frustration from Steffon Diggs with the Bills. We got Cardinals talk, also as the Commanders and the Tennessee Titans. So let's start with Tennessee Titans here. So there's a big, I guess, controversy in Tennessee with the Titans. We have Will Levis, who just got drafted this past draft, right, in this summer. And he's competing for a starting job with Ryan Teannehill. So who do you guys think should start? Will Levis or Ryan Teannehill?
I think they should stick with Ryan Teannehill. Yes, he had a bad season last year, but he's been one of the best quarterbacks for Tennessee for a while. So I think you give him another shot, ride it out with him this 1 year, and let Will Levis learn behind him.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Teannehill, he is a veteran. Will Levis is a rookie. Just learn behind Teannehill, see how they work with the coach. Mike Vrabel is a great coach, and you'll get your chance probably next season, or even at the end of this season, just to get the reins for a bit and get your workout with the NFL experience.
The only kind of hype we see with Will Levis was because of the little inflation he had with social media and the weird little things he was doing, like eating a banana with the peel on, or like mayo in his coffee. So he got that internet hype. There's nothing much to him that I see. It's out there that he's not doing all that good in training camp, so in the off season so far. So I think with this whole conversation with Teannehill and Will Levis, it's not something to argue about. This is a clear start for Ryan Teannehill. He should take the reins. There is no rush. We almost saw like a deja vu here with Malik Willis, right? And it's not a big deal. This is just them trying to figure out what rebuild they should go with their pieces, picking out who they think is good from the draft. And, so far, I mean, I don't know. I don't see much from them, but yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's sort of a semi-rebuild in a way. We are hearing rumors that the running back, Henry, is going to be leaving to somewhere else, another team. And we don't have, and if you look at their depth chart, I mean, if you see their wide receivers, and you have Treylon Burks, which he's not amazing, but he's good. You have Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, sorry if I butchered it, and you have Kyle Phillips. So they're kind of still in a rebuild mode there. And if you move on from your big-time offensive weapon of Derrick Henry, that means you're not going to do so well this season. Or, I mean, it's not a Super Bowl season for the Tennessee Titans.
You can't forget, they traded away A.J. Brown to the Eagles.
Yeah, and then he got fired, right? The GM?
Yeah. But when you think about the situation, I wouldn't think it's a crazy idea to trade away Derrick Henry while he's still valuable, right? But then you're kind of gauging on how long he's going to be as good as he is right now, because they're kind of just depending on him, because there's not much, like you were saying, there's not much weapons out wide with the wide receivers. And then you got Ryan Teannehill, who's a mid-tier quarterback. He's not going to take you to a Super Bowl or anything, especially with this kind of roster. So they should definitely look into getting some assets from other teams and moving on before whatever valuable pieces they have left, before they start to just deteriorate and it doesn't go well for them.
The biggest value that I see that Tennessee Titans have is actually the head coach, Mike Vrabel. Then it's Derrick Henry. Mike Vrabel, he's taken up super high up, I believe all the way to the AFC Championship with all those pieces that he has. So imagine if he had bigger key pieces in that team. I think he can even actually go to the Super Bowl.
In how many years?
He needs a lot of weapons. Yes, Treylon Burks is still there, and he was there to replace A.J. Brown, but he's not there yet. He was injured mostly all of this last season, so we haven't seen the greatness of Treylon Burks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he did have A.J. Brown, and they were close to getting to the Super Bowl with A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry and Teannehill. So that means if he can go to AFC Championship with Teannehill, imagine if he gets a more competent quarterback.
Well, it's not the ones that are behind Teannehill.
Let's shift on over with this starting quarterback position here with the kind of battle that they have between two quarterbacks here. And we got another set of quarterbacks with the Washington Commanders here with Sam Howell and Jacobi Brisett. Now, this is interesting because Jacobi Brisett, I don't think he's a terrible quarterback, but there is talk that Ron Rivera is saying that Sam Howell it's exciting for them what they have with him. So who do you guys think should start, Sam Howell or Jacobi Brisett?
I don't know. I think yes, Jacobi might be a better suit to get them to get wins, but I don't know how confident Rivera is in Sam Howell. Maybe they're just in it to tank for their next quarterbacks. They didn't get one this season. I think they're going to get one next season. It's going to be that Caleb quarterback, the one I forgot his last name, Caleb Williams. There you go.
Okay.
Well, there's just to say Ron Rivera said that Sam Howell is he said it. He excites us, and he's starting over Jacobi Brisett right now. That is the current position.
Over that excites us.
So you're saying that he's lying?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's lying or not. It could be a situation that he's just seeing really good flashes from him in practice. He did have an exceptional game against the Dallas Cowboys, which was supposed to be a team that was just going to go to the playoffs. I mean, you had a rookie quarterback against the Cowboys, against Dan Quinn's defense, and he lit them up. So it might not be he might not be lying, and Sam Howell might be the guy. I myself personally, I do think Sam Howell should be the starter compared to Jacobi Brisett. We already know what Jacobi Brisett can bring. He's an okay quarterback. He's a backup. That's what he is. But go ahead with Sam Howell with all these pieces that Washington Commanders have and see what you can do.
Of course, you should just go with Sam Howell because if it doesn't work out, you always have Jacobi Brisett, which is a good option to have as a backup.
Exactly. So
they're pretty comfortable with their sitting here with their quarterback roster here, with their quarterback depth charts. So it's not really a complicated conversation, at least for me, because like you guys said, or like Andy said, last season, he did pretty well. And right now, Ron Rivera is still talking good about him. So they're confident in moving along with him in the future. I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's too early right now to tell. We got to see what he does this season.
Well, Andy said he had a good game against the Cowboys. He didn't say he had a good season.
No, but he shows flashes because he is a developing quarterback, right?
I think Heineke shows more flashes than...
Heineke had his shot and it didn't work out. That's why he's not with the Commanders anymore.
I know, but it's just a far-fetched to say, he had a great game against the Cowboys, because there's always games against the Cowboys that are great games, especially in division.
But he's a rookie, though.
He
was a rookie last season.
Yeah, this is his second year.
Yeah, this is his second year.
You got to give him a chance, especially for a fifth rounder. A fifth rounder has very low expectations. That's why he's still on the roster.
But Heineke was playing most of the season, no? Or was it Carson Wentz? What happened? Was it just a few games he came in for?
I believe Carson Wentz started, and then he got injured, and then Heineke came, and it just didn't work out with both those quarterbacks. So now Sam Howell, at the end of the day, they had him I don't know if he was drafted or undrafted, but
he was drafted. Sam Howell.
He was drafted fifth round. So he played really well against a really good defense with the Dan Quinn's defense.
I mean, yeah, okay, sure, Dan Quinn's defense, sure, but it's it's the same thing when we were talking about Davis Mills from Houston, Texas. He lit it up for a whole season, and now he's...
Well, you can be right. You can be wrong in some of those cases. You could have said the same thing about Tom Brady. He had one good game. Whatever. It's not that big of a deal.
Exactly.
You have to go as, you just have to see. He has to show what he's capable of. And so he needs that time. He's a sophomore. He's just barely started.
Everybody, mostly all analysts are putting Washington Commanders in last place in projections with this division. So... Yes. It's not going to be, again, another team that's not going to go to the Super Bowl. See what you have with the kid. I mean, you do have some key pieces there with McLaurin, the running back Gibbs, and I believe Dobbs is the other wide receiver. I'm not too sure. You do have some key pieces, and let's just see what he can do.
There's no rush.
There's no rush.
They're shopping Chase Young right now, so they're looking to get possibly more assets from the draft.
Exactly. They're another team that's rebuilding, so why not start with Sam Howell and see what you can get from the kid? If not, then you can draft another one next year.
Let's go over a quarterback with high expectations right now and who has a lot of pressure in the situation he's in. Kyler Murray. What do you guys think about him right now in this situation? There's a lot of question marks in Arizona. And Kyler Murray right now, it seems like, is it going to be his last season this coming season? What do you guys think?
I think it's a divorce bound to happen. I just know if it's going to happen this is his last season. He does have an ACL. He might not even play the whole season or come mid-season. I just don't see any team picking him up or picking up it's just a financial disaster, in my opinion.
It's all in his shoulders. If he can prove this season that he still has the ability to make those throws and move around quickly and just show the big flashes that he has shown before, then he can be that quarterback with Arizona. But for the time being, all we get is injuries. We have some negative situations happening in the Arizona Cardinals. That is just giving a bad taste on everybody's mouths with Kyler Murray. But he does still have some talent there. But if he has a mediocre season, then yeah, it could be his last season in Arizona.
But you gotta, okay, so here's what's interesting, because you didn't mention this, and you always mention this, especially when the ACL comes up. Whenever someone comes back from an ACL, they're not 100% their first year. So you're going to get rid of him even when he's not going to be 100% healthy, because he's not starting at the beginning of this season.
Well, that's what I'm saying about his shoulders, because as a quarterback, he needs to be in the pocket and throw. Yeah, he has an ACL. I know his ability is to move around and to move around and run around. That's why I'm saying it's in his shoulder. He's a quarterback. When it's an ACL, usually it's with players that really have to move around, like running backs or wide receivers, safeties, and things like that. But this kid is a quarterback. He can learn to be in the pocket and throw and do some game management that way. I mean, he still has to produce regardless.
When did he go down? December? November?
It was like somewhere mid-season.
Is he even going to be back?
I believe I think he is.
He's missing the start of the season. I don't know how many games.
He might miss the first or second game, but I mean that's not the whole season. He still has the whole season. I do not give him a pass this season. I know that I say after it takes 2 years to come back from an ACL, but I just don't give him a pass. He's a quarterback, and you have to be a game manager, and that's what he can be.
I just don't see anyone picking up his contract. He just got a new contract with Arizona, with Arizona Cardinals. I just don't see anyone picking up his contract.
I do see it.
I mean, your team.
He's going to be a free agent in 2019, unrestricted.
No, that's Deshaun Watson. They're okay.
It's a joke.
This contract is 5 years. And it's worth about $230 million.
Yeah, that's tough.
So he's locked down for 5 years, which is until 2028, and he's a free agent in 2029.
Just Arizona put themselves in the bind, but look what they did with their head coach. They extended him too, and then they fired him the following season. Sometimes it's good to just cut your losses, but you have to be prepared in getting a quarterback in the draft. Because that's when, I mean, unfortunately, you would hope that you don't have such a big contract like on your salary cap, but you still have a quarterback that you can draft and not pay him as much. But it might be a good. I mean, you might have to cut ties and just have the rookie.
They will cut ties. I think it's a divorce that's bound to happen. It's just murky there. It's too of a mess, and it includes Kyler Murray and his attitude at one point.
I see players leaving Arizona. That's another thing. I mean, Hopkins left. He's a big weapon, and then you have Budda Baker, the safety. That's probably like the heart of that defense, leaving. You have J.J. Watt, another part of that heart, retired, and then you have Hollywood Brown, which he gets injured constantly. You have Zach Ertz, the tight end starter, also gets injured, and he's probably on the end of his career. This team is not well equipped to compete, but I still do not give Kyler Murray a pass. He should still be able to win some games. It's the NFC.
Yeah, very low expectations over there on the NFC.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, who do you have? I still have the Philadelphia Eagles on top of
Eagles and 49ers.
Eagles and 49ers, yeah. And Brock Purdy, he was Mr. Irrelevant last year, and now, I mean, that's his job to lose. Who else you have? The Seattle Seahawks with Geno Smith. I mean, that's even surprising to say. The Dallas Cowboys, I mean, that's, honestly, I don't even put them close. They're just, they go to the playoffs and then they kicked out. I'm just used to it. There's nobody else that I think.
There's talk about the Detroit Lions, but
no,
there's.
I'm very close to them putting them with the Cowboys type of team that they do have some weapons and they can get to the playoffs, but then they're done.
But they were fighting up there. They weren't completely out of the whole fight with this past season with what they had going on, at least in their situation.
I just don't see any big time dominance. And then you have the wide receiver also getting in trouble, and he's suspended for games. I mean, they have their issues too.
But you're talking about the big time dominance in the NFC, which is just 2 teams.
Right.
And you can kind of come down to the AFC with just 3 teams, maybe 4.
AFC?
AFC, you would have Kansas City, like clear dominance.
Okay.
That Kansas City, Bengals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then who would you put after that?
I would put the Chargers too. I would put Buffalo Bills.
Why is there no talk about the Bills?
Right?
The Buffalo Bills. Why was that not like right away? Right? What like? there's issues going on with that.
Right.
So I'm gonna shift on over with that. There's frustration going on with the Bills. We got Steffon Diggs. Reports are coming out. He's frustrated with the team and the way they're calling the offense. What do you guys think about that?
At first, I was thinking, okay, maybe calm down. You know, he lost the offensive coordinator to the New York Giants. It was a transition year, right? But he also pulled the same stunt in the Vikings and got himself out of there because he was frustrated. And now he's back again to being frustrated. It's kind of an annoying attitude.
I like that attitude as a player because he wants to win. He's just not there to collect the check. He got really frustrated in the last game for them to go into to the playoffs, I believe. Or am I wrong? Yeah, it was against the Cincinnati Bengals. And they just got destroyed. And he just got really frustrated. He wants to win. And he wants to be part of those of the game plan and everything. And I know he's a wide receiver and he shouldn't be part of that. But I do like his demeanor that he wants to win the Super Bowl. That's the type of players that you want. I know it gets frustrating that he just needs to do his job, but you also want that type of athletic energy and anger that you just want to win the Super Bowl.
There's some clear frustration in what I think is self-inflicted wounds with the Bills. They hurt themselves in the situations they're in. They should have gone to the Super Bowl, but there was answers there was questions in this past offseason with their whole like offense, and that's why they got a new coordinator, right? What's his name? Ken Dorsey?
Yeah, Ken Dorsey.
So we got to figure out how's this gonna roll out this season? Is this gonna be like Steffon Diggs wanting out if it doesn't work out because his patience seems to be short? I don't know.
That's what's messed up. It's Ken Dorsey's first year with the Bills, and his frustration came in late in December because he had lack of catches, and also that's when Josh Allen's elbow was messing up too.
He was injured
later in the season. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of yes, I know you want to win, but it's kind of a selfish move to just not show up to workouts just because you're not getting the ball. Things won't work out. It's a team sport. Things have to work out eventually. Yes, give it one more year, and if the same shenanigans is going on, all right, then pull your attitude in and say, you know what, it's not working out for me.
I think he's just an employee that just wants to be part of the organization and the game plan to be able to beat the following teams. If they just like invite him to like the meetings to talk about game plan, I don't see anything wrong with that. He's a veteran. He's been playing at a really high level. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think this is just his call to say like, hey, pay attention to me. He just missed one day, but I'm back. Like, I'm part of the team.
And it's frustrating because you're losing to what the other top dogs are, with Kansas City, Bengals, right? So why is there a lot of talk of them being in the top like 3, being like one of the monsters of the AFC, when really they've just been losing against them, and they're again self-inflicted wounds, and it seems to be that this coordinator is not really working out for Steffon Diggs. I think we might see him out of there, but I don't know.
It'll definitely be interesting because their weapons. I don't know about James Cook. Now he's the starting running back. I had him in my fantasy. He didn't do anything for me, and I was seeing some games, and I mean he is elusive, but he wasn't explosive. So I mean it'll be interesting to see.
I can't put Bills as like a tier 1 team.
Of course not.
I can't.
They're
just tier 2.
No,
you're a Jets fan. And they're a divisional rival for you.
Right, but even last year, people had them all high up that they were going to.
They went to the playoffs though, and just
they
got kicked out in the divisional round.
But they've been going there.
You know who else has been kicked out in the divisional round? The Cowboys.
Exactly.
They're just the AFC Cowboys.
That could be.
It's really frustrating because it's a similar situation. If you really put comparisons, they're having frustrations with the offensive play calling. And we've even had the head coaches having some questionable game management going on, some questionable, decisions. It's frustrating.
They could be the Cowboys of the AFC. Didn't they lose that game in the rain against Miami? That was a pretty important game.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't believe that Bill Belichick had a game plan to run every single down, and they couldn't stop them. That was an insane game. Incredible. But
I think their peak was with Brian Dable, and it didn't get there. I don't think they get there again. They have to fix out some things. They need a running back. They can't rely on James Cook. They rely on Josh Allen and throwing the ball all the time, and it's just not working out.
But it seems like that's
Same
the same situation with them trying to get running backs. They got Hines as well, remember? And it's not working. They're trying to get these weaponries, but not pay too much money. That's why when we have like big time free agents, it's always like, are the Buffalo Bills going to contact them for Hopkins or for Derrick Henry? But it just doesn't happen. You're absolutely right, Aaron. There are the Cowboys of the AFC. All the Cowboys fans are like begging Jerry Jones to pull the trigger on these big time names, and it just doesn't happen because of cap space. So it's unfortunate for the fans.
Why are they put as tier 1 and the Cowboys are put as tier 2 type of thing?
It's the quarterback.
But they were both leading in interceptions last season. Yeah, Josh Allen had a little bit of an injury going on.
Well, let me ask you this. Who's the top of the AFC East in your opinion?
Well, it used to be the Bills, but now, I don't know. It could be really anyone.
No, if you had
Patriots.
to choose somebody, who would you pick today? Who would be on number 1 for the AFC to win that division and the AFC East?
It's tough. Okay, so I think I would put the Bills, but
that's what I'm saying. And the Cowboys, it's not. It's second place because you have the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's just the division. It's the whole conference we're talking about here, right?
Right.
It's the whole comparison that we're doing here. That division is going to be a strong division. Those 3 positions right there, they're not going to be separated by that much. By the wins and losses, there's not going to be much separation there. I think there's going to be a lot of competition between those 3 teams.
I agree. It's big time question mark with all those teams because we don't know what's up
first,
with Miami.
It won't matter. It doesn't matter if they're first in the AFC East because they're not going to make it past the divisional round. That's all I'm going to say.
It's hard to go back it's hard to go back-to-back seasons to the Super Bowl with Kansas City. It's really hard to go back-to-back Super Bowls.
We'll see.
And then you have the Chargers with a question mark. You have Kellen Moore. I think they're going to do good. They're going to do really good. But you don't know. I mean, the Chargers have been struggling the last few years. And then who else? You have the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, they did go to the Super Bowl last year. And then this last season, they didn't go to the Super Bowl. But there's situations that they're not complete dominance like we were used to with the New England Patriots just completely destroying teams. No, you can actually see
because
teams...
that doesn't happen at any point.
Well, that's what I'm saying. With the AFC East, any of those teams, people are just putting too much in Miami, in my opinion. Unfortunately, with Tua, he just gets injured way too much. But those teams in the AFC, I can see the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen. If he just plays the same type of gameplay he does before and does those monster throws to Steffon Diggs, and maybe they find some type of wide receiver that it's just a wild card that is just that they just find like a diamond in the rough, then I do see the Buffalo Bills just be on that level. You have the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers. We all know how big time Aaron Rodgers can be. We don't know how it's going to work out with this team, with the rookie, the second year, the sophomore players. We don't know how that's going to be. It's a whole big time question mark with the AFC. I don't see any big time dominance team as of yet. The Kansas City would be my number 1, but it's really hard to go back-to-back seasons to the Super Bowl.
You discredited Cincinnati because they were actually the ones who kicked the Bills out in the divisional round, and you just discredit them because they didn't make it to the Super Bowl because they went against the monster of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Now, okay, and for that particular game, are you crediting more the Cincinnati Bengals to destroy Buffalo Bills, or just Buffalo Bills to not be ready and just just doing boneheaded moves and not being ready?
It's just simple. The Bengals were a better team.
No, but they destroyed when those games happen, that there's a complete destruction from one end to the other. Mm-hmm. That means that the team that just got annihilated wasn't prepared at all for any for a competition, a competent game, especially for a playoff game.
The Bengals came from the wild card, and they had to face the Baltimore, right? And they beat Baltimore, and not by much. So it's just interesting to see here why, okay, like, you're just not prepared. Well, I mean, you won the division. Mm-hmm. You were handed the first seed, mm-hmm. right? So why
also,
not
Josh
take
Allen was
of
injured, so remember that as well. That's a big one. That's his elbow. That's his throwing arm. That's huge.
It just happens. It is what it is, you know. Like, maybe they would have won the Super Bowl if he wasn't injured, but he was injured. So it's just things that just happen, and there's gonna be a lot of complicated talk because things are not that simple. It's not black and white with them.
Yeah,
it's really complicated. I think. I don't know. I want to see what happens with Josh Allen in the next few years. Is he gonna stay a Buffalo Bill? Is he gonna be that kind of team player to where he stays committed to that franchise for the rest of his career? Like,
I think so,
or at least for the most of it, kind of like an Aaron Rodgers or.
I think so. Yeah, no, that Tom city Brady has given him a lot, and he really loves the city. It's all up to the organization if they want to keep him, and at this point, I don't see any reason not to. At this point, we'll see in the future, but at this point, yeah, he's staying.
Let's go over the supplemental draft, the NFL draft. That's something that wasn't a thing since 2019. So, Andy, why don't you go over that?
Yeah, the supplemental draft is happening this season. The last one was in 2019, and how it works is basically there's non-playoff teams that are eligible to pick players that were not eligible for the last draft. Either they didn't submit their paperwork or a drug issue, but now you can pick them. Now, there's teams that if you want to pick a player, you need to bid your future rounds of the next year's draft for the player. So if there's a player that you like, you'll say, I'll give you my 4th rounder for this player. And whoever has the highest bid based on the round, they pick that player. There hasn't been too many players that are big time, astonishing ones. The last one that I can think of is Terrell Pryor from, I believe from Ohio State, and he went to the Raiders. And he did have a decent season. He did make some big plays, but it just didn't work out.
Oh, yeah. I see here Josh Gordon as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, I honestly, with the supplemental draft, unless there's a big-time player that you really, really believe he's going to be a monster starter, then, yeah, go for it. Terrell Pryor, he was a quarterback. So the Raiders, maybe they liked him and they just picked the quarterback. But other than that, I don't see any big-time names. I mean, Josh Gordon, I believe maybe that was just a luck. Or maybe the Cleveland Browns did find something.
It was a second-round pick?
Yeah.
They gave up a second-round pick.
So they really believed in him, and whoever was the GM at that point, I mean, he got that right.
Yeah. That's always so interesting to me because there's stuff that doesn't really get, I guess, much spotlight on it when, back all the way, before 2019, I didn't really hear about that stuff most of the time, and mainly because there's not much to come out of it.
No, it's usually
it still
reports.
happens.
Yeah, it's usually report on ESPN, just 30 seconds or whatever, or or NFL Live or whatever. But I usually got those through Twitter when it was when it's the off season and somebody picks him a player. But usually teams don't bid for players. As you can see, we haven't had one since 2019.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Now, last subject here, we got fantasy talk. We got running back fantasy talk. But to be specific, running backs to avoid fantasy talk. Sandy, why don't you go over that as well?
I might get a lot of hate with this, but I believe that for all fantasy leagues, I wouldn't pick up any running back until maybe the end of the rounds or close to the end of the rounds of the Philadelphia Eagles running backs. I know they got DeAndre Swift. He's not a Detroit Lion for a good reason. And they are just running back committee of moving around running backs. They also have Rashad Penny, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott. You know they're going to be moving them around. When you have a running back, you always have to have him being a legit starter. And with this type of offense, it's always a running back committee.
Yeah, I kind of agree with DeAndre Swift for sure. I wouldn't pick him up. He was injured all the time in the Lions, and now he's with Philadelphia Eagles, where they're just going to split his snaps. And another person I don't really trust is because he left that system is Miles Sanders, who went to the Panthers. He was an assistant that worked, so I don't really know what kind of system they're going to be running down there. So I don't know.
I would pick up Sanders.
I don't know.
I would definitely.
Yeah,
I think his value went up after the trade.
I don't know.
Exactly.
He was an assistant that worked. I don't know what's going on over there.
No, but even with the Philadelphia Eagles system, he still got some points here and there. And now that he's going to be the starter over there, which is not a running back committee, I will definitely pick him up. But over here, you have DeAndre Swift.
Absolutely not.
We saw
Don't
issues with
guy.
him in Detroit, injuries and so forth, and which is really strange because wasn't he drafted last season? Like he was a rookie last season with the Detroit Lions, if I'm not mistaken.
Who?
No.
DeAndre Swift, or was it his second year?
Yeah.
No, it was his second year.
It was his second year. I'm sorry.
This is his junior year.
So, but he had a really great potential. Everybody had DeAndre Swift, like pick him early.
I bought into it.
Yeah, a lot of people bought into it, and look where he's at. He's with the Philadelphia Eagles. He is a starter. You have Rashard Penny, which he was a starter over there with the Seattle Seahawks, and now he's not.
Yep.
So it's just it's the system. It's an offensive system of just moving around running backs. It's all about the offense. It does work especially well for the Philadelphia Eagles. Works really well. But for fantasy owners, I don't think so.
I'm scared of the Kansas City running backs.
You know, I think I disagree with you there with Pacheco.
Why?
Because I saw Pacheco's numbers with fantasy, and he's not like a running back that you would get in the first round or second round. I would not get him. Of course not.
But when you think Kansas City, you think throwing the ball. And yeah, he may get like a reception or two, right?
Right.
Like he's definitely a target, but it's just hard to rely because they're not run heavy. They don't run it often.
Right. Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
So what was your point? I'm sorry. Were you saying that you wouldn't?
No, I was saying like I would also avoid the Kansas City running backs.
I'm sorry. I thought you were saying
What?
I thought you were meant like you like that team. I apologize.
No. I'm avoiding the Kansas City running backs. I think I'm avoiding the Kansas City running backs. I think I do agree with the whole avoiding DeAndre Swift situation. And then I would probably also avoid Alvin Kamara, which it seems like it's just going downhill really bad, like really bad. And it's time to ditch him, right? I don't know what's going to happen, what's his value right now on how other people are valuing him. But if he's still going to be taken around the second round, I think that's insane. I think it's insane. I don't think he's worth even a second round. I think he's probably just a third rounder at that point.
You know, at this point, yeah, I would pick up Jamal Williams like late in the rounds because he's the second tier to Kamara. So, I mean, if you want some points, get Jamal Williams. He had a really good season with Detroit, and now he's with New Orleans. I wouldn't mind picking him up.
I would avoid Javonte Williams.
That too. I don't know what's going on over there in Denver.
Yeah, I would.
It's kind of, this is what we're talking about. The running back situation is not good.
You have to be very careful. And I mean, I would like to say this in a different episode, but I have to really do some research on this. But I think I wouldn't get even Derrick Henry.
It's not the craziest thing, but also I'd be very nervous to be in that position because right now there's no decline really. So we have to wait and see. And it's going to suck if you pick him up and now he starts to decline, right, in production and in value for fantasy. But you kind of have to take that risk because the margin of I guess the value for these running backs, there's only so many really good ones. Like you got Christian McCaffrey, you got Austin Eckler, I guess maybe Saquon, Nick Chubb, and there's a big gamble with Bijan Robinson, right? But I think that's someone that maybe I think is definitely going to be taken somewhere around like mid-round of the first round. It's definitely not crazy. Everyone's, I think, buying into a lot of the hype. And then obviously you got Josh Jacobs, which he had an amazing last season. So
it's about strategy.
Maybe even Tony Pollard.
It's about strategy. If you're, let's say it's a 10 to 12 person league and you're close to the last, like pick number 10, 11, or 12, then I would think about getting a really good wide receiver in the first round. And then right away in the second round, if Derrick Henry's still there, then you got a starting running back. If the other running backs are gone, you gotta take into account to see how many like tier 1 wide receivers are worth taking and which ones are left. If you're on the tail end of the draft,
because to that point, it might just be worth it to just grab a running back.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's more wide receivers, I think, than running backs this season. So I would.
But tier 1 though, like a really, really like you have to take him first round.
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you have Chase, you have Jefferson, you have Cooper Kupp, you have AJ Brown, you have
Devontae
Adams.
Even maybe Steffon Diggs, but I think Steffon Diggs' value is
getting close to there, but Steffon Diggs is still really good. I mean, it's Josh Allen and Steffon Diggs.
Yeah.
So if you can get Steffon Diggs and Derrick Henry, is that a bad situation to have?
No, definitely not. Definitely not, because both have proven to be productive. It just sucks because if you grab both of them and their values go down this season, that's the worst thing that could ever happen to you. And I don't think that's out of the question. I think that can totally happen this season.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure that we're missing some wide receivers that, like Tyreek Hill, that's another one.
Yeah, but even with the whole competition with Jalen Waddle.
No, Jalen Waddle is a wide receiver I wouldn't be picking up, honestly.
Why not?
He didn't have a good season last season, and I don't see any upside with the quarterback.
I remember him having a pretty good season because there was points where they were both dropping like 30, 40 points.
He's very inconsistent, and that's the frustration when you're a fantasy owner. Either he has a good game or he doesn't, and I don't like those type of players. That's
kind of Tyreek Hill too, though, because sometimes he can really drop the ball.
Yeah, but I think since last year was his first year with Miami, I think he's going to be better this season, Tyreek Hill. He still has that speed. He's still a really big-time wide receiver. So I believe there's more wide receivers to pick from in the first round than running backs.
Oh, well, yeah. There's a ton of them, and they are racking up the points on fantasy more than running backs. So it's a decision you have to make if you want to draft 2 wide receivers back-to-back.
You're forgetting your boy CeeDee Lamb too.
Your boy. Huh.
I'm serious.
No, he's tier 2.
You think so?
Yeah.
No,
I don't
Especially
think so.
with Brandon Cooks. Well, actually, no. Brandon Cooks might help him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting. Because I think he has more help than he did last season.
I would agree with you that he's a low level tier 1 to high tier 2.
Yeah.
But it's still one of those players that if you're the one like
you
the
can take a gamble on him.
You're like the last pick and all the wide receivers are gone and running backs again.
Chris Olave or Jalen Waddle?
No, Olave.
Jalen Waddle.
No.
Okay.
Olave, man.
All right.
That's you have Derek Carr there.
Okay.
Who's going to be throwing it to? It's not going to be Michael Thomas.
Yeah, you really hate Tua.
Did I see Tua last year? Poor kid. He had like 20 concussions, man. Poor kid. I really hope if he continues to having those concussions, I really, really hope he considers retiring. I know he wants to play for like his son to watch him, to have a decent age for him to know what he's doing. But you got to take care of your health, man. Concussions is no joke at all.
We got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
I think moral of the story here is concussions are bad in football, and that's really bad.
No, and it's exciting that we're getting close. It's almost fantasy time, so it's going to be a lot more fantasy talk. I know we've been saying it, but yeah, it's exciting.
All right, that's going to do it. Thank you guys for listening. To everyone who made it to the very end, we'd love to see you guys giving your opinions with us on our social media page, which is football_tailgaters on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you guys again for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.